well, here we go. I think I am live on Facebook. Welcome to Insights with Ivanna, a weekly broadcast designed to help you identify, embrace, and live more fully in your genius by illuminating important pieces of information that you already possess. Sounds like a challenge, I hope. So today I will be sharing step 1 of 10 ways to illuminate your insight. This is a free gift with purchase of Women Who Shine. There are 2 versions of Women Who Shine. There is the general version, and then there is one with my cover. So I'm really excited. If you haven't already seen the post about Women Who Shine, I'll be telling you more about that later. But when you purchase the book, you can go onto the website, myluminaryinsights.com, and download the free copy of 10 Ways to Illuminate Your Insights. And today we are going to talk about step number 1. So I am Ivanna Manthor Anderson. I am the founder and the Chief Luminary Officer of Luminary Insights. And Luminary Insights is an intuitive life coaching brand. So I'm relatively new to these lives. I'm hoping I'm going to see when someone makes a comment. And I do. Jody G, hi, thanks for being on with me tonight. I was supposed to start this last week and had a little trouble with the allergies. And last week was Jody's birthday. So I'm still going to give her a shout out on the live. So happy late birthday, Jody. So anyway, tonight we are going to talk about 10 ways to illuminate your insights. And people say to me, well, what does it mean to illuminate your insights? Because as I said already, it's stuff you've already got. It's things you already know. You know what brings you joy. You know what you can do in your life that just makes time stand still. Things that you absolutely love. And sometimes maybe we're not really aware of what those things are, because like I talk about in my story, Luminary Insights, in the book Women Who Shine, I didn't always know exactly what it was that was right in front of me that would bring me that joy. So along my journey, I followed 10 different steps that helped me shine light on the things that I needed to do to become the golden version of myself. So after writing the chapter, I actually went back through it and say, let me look at the things that I've done. And that is how I created the 10 steps, or the 10 ways to illuminate your insights. So the very first step, the absolute foundation for everything else in my world and in life, is to find your joy. And I can tell you, again, joy has not always been something that came easy to me. And there have been times in my life, I'm sure there have been times in your life, where you just didn't feel a lot of joy. Some examples that I could share are like when my parents split up. When my son was born 6 weeks prematurely and had a lot of health issues. When my first marriage actually ended in divorce. And then I had a number of health issues when I was 50. And one of them being actually having a stroke. So those are just a couple things where it's like joy doesn't seem like the thing that you automatically go to. It's so easy to get caught up in what's going wrong and to caught up in the what's if and the worst case scenarios. And speaking of joy, my husband David Anderson has joined. I do have 2 screens, so I look away sometimes. Thank you for joining me, my joy. So I'm so excited to have both Jody and David on already for this first broadcast, because they are 2 of my joys. And so, when we think about joy, and we think about those worst case scenarios, it's hard to think about joy. And I learned to lean on my faith. And I also had the knowledge that even if I didn't feel the joy, I could choose the joy. And I know that can sound really crazy to think you can choose joy when things are crazy. So for example, when my son was in the NICU, not sure if he was going to live. He's almost 30 now, so he lived and he did great. But it was hard to pick joy. When I was in the ICU myself, wondering what my own fate would be, I had to make a conscious effort to choose joy. And I'll tell you, especially in the earlier years, it was just so much easier to be like freaked out and in panic mode. But I practiced and I built my joy muscles. And so one of the things that I've done to build that joy muscle is I build a My Joy list. And here's an example of a My Joy list. I have a vision board right above my computer, and this is the kind of thing that I post on the wall to help me choose my joy. And so when I am struggling, or even if I'm feeling okay and just want to feel better, I can look at my list and go, you know, what are some of the things that make me feel better? What bring me joy? Time with my amazing husband is on that list. And two of the other ones that mean a lot to me, thank you, Jody. I appreciate being a joy. I know I'm not always a joy, but I certainly try. Two of the other things are my walks out by the pond. I just love walking by the pond and feeling the breeze in my face and being in nature. And when I'm out there, there's this sense of joy, this sense of peace. It's almost like nothing can get to me, you know, when I'm out there in the joy. And another thing are the dogs, Sherlock and now Luna. I just think of that unconditional love when they come bounding in and wanting attention, and no matter what I do, they are going to love me. And those are two of the things that really help me. If I stop and I think about it and I feel it and I can almost breathe it in, then I can have that joy even in the middle of something that's not so positive, like a stroke. And I know that you'll find it hard to believe, but those who went through it with me know that the stroke experience was actually one of the most joyful events of my life, because it allowed me to choose who I was going to be no matter what was happening. And my favorite story is when I went back in after I had gone through a lot of the treatment and done a lot of the recovery. I went back in to see the doctor for a checkup, and he asked me had I noticed that they often came by to see me in the afternoons, that they would save me to the end of the day. And I said, well, I did notice, you know, you guys came kind of late. And he went on to tell me that the reason they did that is because I cheered them up. After they had had sometimes a really depressing day of rounds where people maybe didn't even make it, that they saved me to last so that they could have something positive to end their day on. And that I cherish that to this day, because it made me see that it wasn't just something I was choosing, but other people were seeing it too, that I chose joy. And I really believe that the choice that I made helped tremendously in my very rapid and almost complete recovery. Choosing joy isn't always going to work the way we want it to, but if it doesn't bring you to full recovery in something like that, choosing joy helps bring more joy into your life. And so for me, this number one piece of choosing joy is absolutely the foundation. And speaking of joy, there's another joy. Hi, Cynthia. It's so good to have you on here. One of my colleagues that is always someone to smile with. And thinking about that at work, you know, when you're at work, by golly, you choose joy. Sometimes that can be hard there too, but you choose that joy and it will take you through. And like I said before, not just when you're in a drastic situation, but when something's good, you can take it to a whole different level by choosing that joy, by remembering something that makes you happy. Let's see, I've got some more comments. Yeah, that's awesome. It is awesome. It's awesome to know you have the power. We're going to be talking in another episode about, you know, taking 100% responsibility for your life, and choosing joy is part of that. Being in something that's not so great, like a stroke, where you really don't have control of your body, but you have control of other things, like the decisions that you choose to make. And so I really, you know, want to say one of the things that brought me a lot of joy was after I had left the hospital, just a few days after I'd left the hospital, nowhere near full recovery, and I'll try not to cry, but one of my joy points if I'm having a really rough day is I think about my husband driving me back to the hospital, and I had made some very simple baubles, some little jewelry kind of things, some very simple ones with partial use of my left arm, and I had made them as gifts for my caregivers at the hospital. And he dropped me off at the door, and I walked back into that unit where I had been on my own 2 feet by myself. It was petrified walking through the hospital, going up the elevator. I can remember it like it was yesterday. But I felt so triumphant, and I had such joy. And when I step back into that moment, I feel like I can do anything. Nothing can get me down because of that triumph, because of that moment of joy. So again, I just want to say, choosing joy can alter the outcomes dramatically, whether it's health, whether it's a feeling of something, an attitude that you have. You'll find that when you are able to tap into joy, things around you just seem to change because you raise the vibrations and things come at you in a very different way. And the more joy that you put out, the more joy that comes back to you. So one of the things you will hear me talk about a lot on my website and anything I do is genius. That we want to live in our genius. And joy and genius are the same thing, because living in your genius is where you find that joy. And when you're in joy, it helps you find more of what makes you thrive. So I want to encourage you to practice this one step of joy, because just practicing this one step can make a tremendously positive difference in your life and take you closer to being in your genius. But as we go through all 10 steps, if you commit to all 10 steps, you'll take an absolute quantum leap to becoming your best self. So I really want to hear from you. What are you going to do to flex your joy muscle after hearing this broadcast? And you can tell me that by going to the website, myluminaryinsights.com. You can go there and fill out the Let's Talk, or you can just send a comment through the website. You can also, as I mentioned before, when you purchase the book, you can go to the book page and then download what we're talking about here with the 10 ways to illuminate your insights. It's 6 pages long, and it includes the 10 steps and some other information as well. So I'd love to see if there are any more comments. I see a "that's so awesome." I think that came in a little bit ago. I hope that you will use these ideas. And those of you that know me, I would love to hear from you what changes you've seen in me over the past 1.5 to 2 years as I've been going down this journey. I mentioned at the beginning of this broadcast that I became the golden version of myself, and that's actually a quote from a colleague who said to me one day on the phone, "I just want to tell you that you have truly become the golden version of yourself." And that makes me so happy. It makes me so proud to know that not only do I believe I'm becoming a better person by following these 10 steps and by going through the process that I went through in writing my story in Women Who Shine, but that others are seeing a difference as well. And so guess what? My husband will tell you real fast, I'm not perfect. I don't follow these 10 steps as consistently as I'd like to. But again, sticking it on my wall, making my pretty little printout with a partial list, sticking it on my wall reminds me of the things that bring me joy. And so, Jody, I'll share with you one of mine on here. One of my joy points is Korean food, especially kimchi. Absolutely, especially for kimchi. So, thank you, Cynthia. Yes, I'm happy. I'm happier as a person, and I'm healthier as a person. Not all the way there yet, but by golly, I do believe the more we tap into that joy, the more we are able to raise the vibrations, the more we're able to step out of some of the things that cause us stress, and that stress that can cause some of our illnesses. So thank you. Thank you, Jody, and thank you, David. So I look forward to seeing comments from others as you watch this. This will be reposted in a couple of other places. And I thank you for being here tonight. And again, I just encourage you to go to myluminaryinsights.com, check it out. I wore my butterfly earrings tonight. You'll see one of my butterfly pictures on the website. And I also want to say thank you to Kate Butler, who is the publisher for the book. And thank you to Marla Diane, who is my amazing business coach. And thank you to I am Chelsea Marie, who is my website designer and helping me with my branding as well. Thank you to my husband for his patience. Lots of patience as I am enjoying my full-time job and then really enjoying branching out and sharing my joy with others. So I have no idea what that means, Jody. Oh, tekbogi. Okay, now we're talking Korean. Well, I'm not going to ramble on any longer. Thank you for sticking it out with me for 15 to 20 minutes. And I hope you will join me again next week as we go to step number 2. And if you found today's episode entertaining and educational, please share it with a friend. I'll have it posted soon. with love and light. Thank you. Have a great night.